back to the podcast with me, your host, Pete Tigers. Today's a wonderful one for me to be a part of. I'm heading back to a river that I used to fish a number of years ago. I've not seen it for a long time, but I know lots of amazing work has been done there. I'm catching up with some friends as well. Galvin, Roger Pizey, who work in hospitality. So lunch sounds as though it is going to be amazing. Feargal Sharkey has been president of the club, and he's been involved with a lot of the work that's taken place there. So I'm excited to catch up with him and do some fishing as well. So what I'm going to try and do with this is capture as much from the day as I possibly can. I've got some great interviews planned with some of the members as well. We're going to also write up an article in the magazine about it as well. So the club is called Amwell Magna, and it's in Hertfordshire, and it's based on the River Lea. You're going to get a little bit about the backstory. You're going to get some fishing, and we're going to talk to as many people as I possibly can as well. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this one. So let's head to the river. So it was a long time ago. I bumped into somebody on the riverbank and we talked for a while. We talked about an epic spinner fall that we both experienced on the test, and I'm thrilled to be back with him today on this fishery that's looking absolutely extraordinary. I'm beside myself with excitement. I'm desperate to want to cast a fly, yet I just want to take it all in. I want to drink it all in, see how it's different, remember the places that I had fished previously and experience it all. But I'm thrilled to be guided at the moment as well by Feargal Sharkey. Feargal, it's great to see you, and it's great to be back at Amwell again.
Peter, you're more than welcome anytime. It's a joy to see you here. I'm flattered you used the word guided, and bless you for saying that. I think we know that's not the truth, that you're much more the expert than I am. One of the things for me is just seeing your reaction and knowing the state this river was in when you and I were both members here, and the utter transformation that's taken place. The underlying thing for me, these rivers are worth fighting for, and the transformation we've managed to achieve at the Amwell Magna. And by the way, I need to say this, and I don't say it often enough, with the local team of the EA who have been at ground level, utterly brilliant, utterly fantastic, and been able to walk into this fishery this morning. There's mayfly all over the place. We've already seen, a dozen, if not more, trout already rising to the mayfly, taking mayfly. Who would ever have thought any of this would be possible, even 10 years ago? These rivers can be saved.
And it's extraordinary chatting to you as we've walked downstream a little bit about the management of the river. And that's been the really interesting thing. It's, with the fishing club, you often think, well, you've got to stretch a river and everyone goes fishing and you look after the members and all that sort of stuff. But also, as you say, about the water and the micro management and the major management of it as well, that has made such a colossal difference to things here, hasn't it?
Well, it has to, because the reality is the Amwell Magna is home to the last sole remaining breeding population of wild brown trout in the River Lea downstream from Hertford. So the last 30 miles, 35 miles of the River Lea, the Thames' biggest tributary, this is it right here. And clearly we think we have an obligation to ensure that we protect, support, conserve that population of wild brown trout. If for no other reason, this year, 2026, is the Amwell Magna's 185th anniversary. And clearly when I was chairman, and that's carried on, the aim was to ensure in another 185 years, you'll be able to get in a train 20 minutes later from central London and catch a wild brown trout at the Amwell Magna. And let's face it, Isaac Walton was doing exactly that 400 years ago at this very spot. We're just carrying on a very long tradition.
And as somebody, as you said, you've been chairman and you're involved, everyone knows your involvement with water quality and fighting for rivers, as you have just said as well. But do you sit here now or stand here now, and we've got fish rising all over the place at the moment? You can probably hear the weir in the background, and I just love the sound of the river in the background of this podcast for you to get a sense, because I think you're probably driving to work or doing something that's not as exciting as I'm about to do right now. But do you sit there now and say, right, my work is almost done, or do you still feel there's a lot more to do?
No, there's an awful lot more to do because, ironically enough, it was this stretch of river got me into the whole water thing in the first place. As you well know, and I say this with enormous love to the fellow 59 members of the Amwell Magna, there's 60 of us. They're ladies and gentlemen of a certain age far too used to get their own way in life. And I'm saying that diplomatically. So when we began to raise some concerns with the Environment Agency and Thames Water and everybody else, I always knew that the Amwell Magna was going to come out the better of this. But that's the bit that got me curious. And I began to think, well, how many other fishing clubs are there, community groups are there, out there fighting the same fight, trying to protect and conserve their own little bit of river? And then I realised the country's peppered. So for me, none of the stops. Actually, let me try it this way around. Right now, every single river in England is polluted. 100% of them. That's an extraordinary thing for me to be able to say. I'm not giving up until we've completely reversed that situation. I know 100% of rivers in England will pass the ecology test, will pass the chemical test, then I retire.
That is wonderful to hear. And that's been the fascinating thing about this, because when you sort of started this movement as well, that I was kind of talking to people in a much lesser degree, and there were these silos of people trying to fight. And I think what you've done is give them a voice and made them unify a little bit more. Do you feel that, you know, and I know when we first spoke very early on the podcast, when you were very kindly a guest on there, that you said you wouldn't stop until you'd got a satisfactory solution or continue the argument. Looking back from when we last spoke there now, do you feel that the voice has got louder, but it still needs to get louder again?
Oh, listen, absolutely, without question. Is this now on a political agenda? Is it on the national agenda? Absolutely, without question. I cannot walk down the street without people wanting to stop me and talk about shite and rivers, to be perfectly honest. There was a time they wanted to talk to me about music. I much preferred that, if I'm being honest, and I would quite like to go talking about music. The earliest group, in fact, the earliest reference I can find is a local group, the Vere Valley Society, formed in 1976. The first mentions of the word chalk stream that I can find in the parliamentary record is from 1986, the then local MP raising the concerns about the River Vere in St Albans. That's how long there's been people out there. And they're not campaigners, they're not militants, they're not some form of extremists. They don't superglue themselves to the doors of banks in the middle of some protest. These are just decent, ordinary people that realised there was something wrong with their local river, that it didn't look like that 10 years ago, it didn't look like that 15 years ago. And here's the thing that really got me angry, and I've pointed this out now to a couple of chairs of the Environment Agency. These decent people put their trust in the system. And the system, the Environment Agency, the regulators, DEFRA and the water companies took that trust and they trashed it. Otherwise, we'd not be here and not having this conversation. That's what we now need to rectify.
And do you think anglers can be doing more? You know, people are listening now. What more do you think they could do if they're not doing enough already?
Oh, listen, anglers now, everybody right now, we are about possibly to confronted with a new water bill. The most senior civil servant in the Department for the Environment has already flagged it with MPs. Government see this new water bill as an opportunity to, and I'm quoting, simplify and streamline the underlying legislation, the Water Framework Directive and the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. That should send a chill into every heart of everybody that cares about a river, that cares about the environment. The problem we have right now, we're not good at what we do. We need to upskill really quickly. We've picked this fight 2 or 3 times. We've failed every time. If we want to win this, we need anglers, environmentalists, community groups. We need to start upscaling our job and how we go about it, because we're not going to win. And I'm absolutely really concerned we're going to lose the battle. Here's the reason why. We're about to pick a fight with a £20 billion a year monopoly called the water industry. How much do we think the water industry are going to be prepared to do to hold on to that £20 billion a year monopoly? We don't even know what the rules are yet. Never mind win that fight. We need to learn really quickly.
There's the clarion call. So let's stir up shit where we can. That's the really important thing, that we do that. And we've got somebody like Feargal fighting the corner and some more. And I'd like to say thank you for what you're doing on behalf of so many of the people who are listening right now as well. We're lucky we've got you. And I hope people listening, this will be inspiration for you to stand up and make a stand. That's the really important thing that we must do. And I'm using the magazine, starting to do that myself as well, that we've got to encourage people to stand up. It's all well and good moaning about it on social media, but I think we need to make the next step now and move on and start to make our voices a little bit louder. Now, while we've been speaking, I've seen a fish sip in a bush just below us. Do you think we ought to catch him?
And there's also one down there. Should we go fishing? And here's the thing, the remarkable thing we're about to do, hopefully, and I keep my fingers crossed for you, you're about to catch a wild brown trout on a dry fly 20 minutes away from the centre of London. What an extraordinary idea that is. That idea is worth defending to the bitter end.
I think that's a wonderful point. And, you know, when you see these beautiful streams, as I said, that run into the Thames ultimately, and the work that's been done here, and I can speak about this because I've seen it. I've seen this from 30 years ago now. The 90s felt like it was just yesterday, but it's clearly not now. But the work that's been done here, and we're lucky to be able to do this. And it may be the streams that you fish as well, that you're lucky to fish them. So, yeah, we're going to see if we can catch some fish, but let's stomp our feet, let's shout, let's stir up the shit. I thought I was struggling a little bit with rubber hook syndrome. That I'd seen a couple of fish rise, covered them, hooked them, and they came off. And I was fishing an emerger in the film, and I'd seen the rises that they were sort of just subsurface, and thought, well, I had a chance with that. Had a couple of fish on. The initial report from me on them is how incredibly strong they are. I had another one make me jump, that I was fishing in a shady spot that just looked right, and it made me jump, and I set on Devon time. And thankfully found one. It was a tricky one to catch. There's a sort of a softer bit of water by a tree on the far side, and he wouldn't travel far, but getting the cast up to get the drift without landing the fly right on his head was really interesting and fun to do. But I'm with Martin and Paul from the club. Martin is the bailiff, Paul is the secretary. Martin, the fish you must be incredibly proud of. They're very, very strong. I've had a long chat with Feargal about the state of the river, and comparable to when I was back here at, previously, is just light and shade. It really is a completely different fishery. It's absolutely beautiful. I've barely moved and have enjoyed watching the fish rise. I've been trying where I can to target rising fish as well. But must be a nice place to hang out, right?
Fantastic place to hang out. Sometimes I have to step back and pinch myself and think how lucky I am to be working down here. You know, it's an amazing place. Stunning wild fish again. The last 2 seasons, the number of reds we're discovering on the river, and the fish that are breeding so much better now. We've got much better flows down here. And also another story, the grayling project. We've got unbelievable results. The last 3 years we've been stocking grayling. Huge thanks to the Environment Agency for that. And and we're fingers crossed for this season. We've filmed them breeding, spawning the last 2 years, and so fingers crossed for later this year. If members start catching grayling of sort of 3 or 4 inches, then hopefully they would have been born in the river.
What an amazing story. And for you, for somebody who's working on the river, is it difficult sometimes to come down here and fish? Do you like to fish here? Do you get to fish here?
I will have the opportunity to fish, but I choose not to, because I enjoy the place so much. I don't need to fish in order to enjoy it. I enjoy watching members fish, get just as much pleasure from that. So short answer is I don't really fish, no.
And do you fish elsewhere then?
I don't, no. I used to do a lot of pike fishing. So in the winter down here, close season, I will pike fish, see what we've got in the river. But apart from that, no, I don't normally cast a line, and elsewhere either. No, so
It's lovely to hear that, because I got that sense that it probably is. It's almost like a passion, isn't it? That you don't feel that you need to actually come down here and catch the fish, because you know the fishery so intimately as well. But Paul, as secretary as well, it's one of the big tasks in a fishing club, isn't it? Are you enjoying it?
Very much so. It's very trial testing, and there have been a few problems we've had to overcome over the last few months. I'm fairly new to the role and still learning, but with people like Martin around me and Graham Cash and Malcolm Barnfield and Robert Sheriff, there's a wealth of knowledge. And what I'm trying to do now is to tap into that to accelerate my learning process. But it's getting there. But just as Martin says, I just like being here. We've been here for an hour or so. I haven't even wetted a line yet because I enjoyed just walking around and watching you, Pete, catch a fish, because that's really rewarding. When our guests come along and are successful, couldn't ask for much more than that. So it's a great place to be.
It really is. And I see that it looks to me like you travel a little bit with the fly rod as well, judging by the cap. Aside from here, where do you like to go fishing?
We have typically, my colleagues are my fishing mates, my fishing buddies, who I've been with for 30 odd years now. We do travel around a little bit. It's difficult to find a river to fish on a day ticket, so that's why we enjoy coming here so much and feel at home here. Small waters we do, but we also like to do quite a lot of salmon fishing. We're up in Scotland, and as you mentioned, the hat here, I'm off to Iceland in the back end of July after the Atlantic salmon there, so really looking forward to that too. But great fun.
And this it's one of those wonderful days, isn't it? That there's fish rising, the hatch is coming off. And Feargal was saying to me, wait till it's 3:00, that it really gets going here. But I'm almost at the stage, and Martin showed me some footage of a fish eating a mayfly, and I'm desperate to try and get something like that as well, because it's pretty cool and almost transcending the fishing. I'm almost sort of kind of there. I have a downstream flies allowed here. Is downstream lovely? I've seen one go under a tree just while we've been talking. So the guy's back's to me, but I've seen one rise just the once. So I'm going to see if I can cover him as well. So have a go there. But it is. Do you have to travel far to get here, Paul?
No, I don't. Personally, I'm about half an hour away, just a little bit more. There are some more local, but there are some people who travel a long way to come and fish here, from South London, for example. And they do it for the same reason that we do, because it's a terrific place to come. Now, I think, Pete, if I'm right, it's about 30 years since you were fishing here regularly, and if absence makes the heart grow fonder, then I can understand your pure excitement at being here today, and we're delighted to see you, and I know you're going to have a great day.
I'm having one already, and Feargal will tell you that when I hooked that fish and it came off, that I had tears in my eyes and we had a big hug. So that tells you what it means to me, and it really is. It feels as though I'm coming home. That's how it feels to me. It's close to where I grew up and where I lived. It's not, half an hour, 40 minutes away from Essex. So it was a lovely drive down here. I remember heading over to Epping and then just jumping down through Roydon and that way. And even when I pulled up this morning, that I recognised the lay-by. I recognised where I used to turn my car around when I went home again afterwards. And then seeing a fishery that, like you say, is 30 years since I've been here, it's just quite moving to see how wonderful it is and the wonderful work that's been done here. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it already.
I need to add something to that. This fishery has improved amazingly over the last few years in terms of managing the water. The water flow now is terrific. It's a lot clearer than I recall from previous years. And it's now, as Martin's described, getting some nice clean reds to encourage the spawning and the breeding of the wild browns and of the grayling too. So it's actually improving seemingly every week, but certainly year by year, it's getting better and better.
It's a little quieter now. It feels like it's just come off the boil a little bit. The wind's up a tiny bit. The air feels a little bit thinner than it did previously. I haven't seen so many fish rising as at the bottom there. There's somebody fishing downstream of me right now, but I've just walked up, not a long distance at all, but I'm going to go and see if some of the other members are around and have a chat with them. I switched. I can't remember if I said that. I'd been fishing an emerger pattern and switched to the French partridge just in case. And that caught me the fish. I had one fish come up and have a look, actually, in all fairness. But that's been it. But it looks, typical mayfly water, those slower, even flow stretches, the ones that I'm sort of zoning in on, just in case anyone might rise. But yeah, I'm just looking up the river now, just up towards the bridge where we enter here, and it's sort of, yeah, I'm on River Right, basically, if you look downstream. There's the odd mayfly coming off, but not in the sort of numbers that I'd seen previously. So I think what I'm going to do is walk upstream a little bit, see if I see a rise. If I see a rise, I'll target it. If not, I'll go and see if I can find some of the other guys. I'm writing an article as well, so this is the really dangerous thing about fishing and writing an article, is that pictures as well. I need to get some pictures, so that's what I am hoping to do too. But of course, if I do see a fish rise, or I can see where the sun's out and the sun's behind me, there's a fish right in front of me, just 6-8 feet away. Just, he's pretty low in the water. I'm going to watch him for a second. It's nice to be able to see the fish. I don't even have my sunnies on right now, and I can see him there. I could see the tail working backwards and forwards. A little bit more shelter here, so yeah, there might be the outside chance. I think the fish knows I'm about. He's just moved across a tiny way. There's just the odd mayfly. I would definitely say there was a few more earlier, but there's just the odd one now on the water. But yeah, I'm not seeing the rises as I was. And like I say, that the sun behind me, I think, probably helps a little bit too, that, it's not in the fish's eyes. And it's nice for spotting fish too. We've just had the most amazing lunch put on by Chris and Roger, and I'm chatting with Roger Pizey now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the fishing, because you're a member here. How long have you been fishing here, Roger?
This is my third year now, actually, Pete. And yes, I mean, up and down. The first year was not the best year to fish, to be honest, but it's just improved tremendously. And this year is absolutely incredible. The fish are rising amazing, the mayfly hatches, and the fish are coming up big time.
And what about you from a fishing career? Have you been fishing a long time, or is it a relatively new thing for you? And if it is new, how did you get into it?
So I've actually been fishing for probably since I was about 12 or 13. I used to go to my Uncle Roy's in Lancaster, because I'm a single parent family at the time. My father died when I was very young. So I used to go there for the summer. He had 3 sons, Peter, Simon and David, and they used to go. They were mad fishermen, and they taught me how to fish, and I used to look, and that's how I started course fishing. And then through that, I'd carried on. Then I stopped for quite a long time, got into pastry, into the restaurants, and they were really busy, But before that, I was on a farm. I was a herdsman. And I went down, lived in Newark for a while, on a place called Latham Estates. And a guy called Martin, who was one of the managers there, used to fly fish. And he taught me to fly fish. And that's how I started to fly fishing. And to me, it's all about the lightness. Course fishing had a big bag and all of the rods. And this was just one rod, one small bag, and a few flies.
And you're enjoying, my sense of the club having come back again is how friendly it is, how everyone gets on really, really well. And it looks as though you've slotted in absolutely perfectly as well. But it's just such a lovely spot. And for somebody who's got a busy life in London as well, it's nice to be able to come out at just a short distance and go do some fishing on a river.
Yeah, it's incredible, especially from where I live, North London. It's 45 minutes. And everyone's so friendly, and they've got so much experience, and everyone helps each other. I've been tying flies, so in inverted brackets, for many years. Chris is a mad tyer. They're all good tyers, and there's nothing nicer than catching a trout on your own fly that you've tied.
And I had the great opportunity when we had our event at Farlow's to go and see you at work, and there's an interesting backstory came through. But can you tell people a little bit about your day job as well?
Yeah, so I'm the executive pastry chef for Fortnum and Mason. I've been there for over 7 years now, and it's just an incredible place to work. And anything sweet is to do with me, which is great. It's just an incredible place. We have the tea salon there that's doing amazing. We have Biscuitorium new opened last week, which is just the first thing we've ever done before. Biscuit sales are always great. We make our own in-house biscuits, and yeah, we have a fantastic team. We're doing incredibly well.
And also, I know you've got some events, some charity events coming up, and I was very sad. I was hopeful I could get along to the one on Friday. But can you tell us a little bit about the charity events you put on as well, please?
So this Friday is the first time I've done a May one, so bang in the middle of mayfly. But this time the charity is going for the Alex Lewis Trust. Alex Lewis is very dear friend of mine, married to a really old friend of mine, and tragically had an infection many years ago and lost his limbs, and he's going to row from Newfoundland to England, and we're raising money to help with that.
And if people want to donate, do you know any of the details of where they can do that?
Just go online to Alex Lewis Trust and they can donate there. It'd be fantastic.
That sounds amazing. I'm going to get onto that very, very shortly as well. So we're going to do some fishing this afternoon. Before we move on to that, you bought some amazing Scotch eggs from Fortnum. And is there a backstory? Somebody was telling me there's a backstory about Scotch eggs and Fortnum and Mason.
Yes, well, Fortnum and Mason invented the Scotch egg in 1736. It was a boiled egg encased in sausage meat and then deep fried, breaded and deep fried, and that was given to people going away as a travel accompaniment to help them on their journeys.
And while we've been standing here, just downstream, I've seen a few fish rise. Are you getting ready to catch a few on mayfly?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so primed. Can't wait.
We've had a good lunch, and Malcolm's already been hooking some fish as well. But Malcolm, how long have you been a member of the club here now?
Oh, I actually officially joined in about 2000, yeah, it was about 2000 turn of this century, and but I had been fishing here with a guest for quite a few years, and it was in those days pretty hard to get a membership. It was almost sort of dead men's shoes, and I think it was 6 years before I actually joined in 2000, and yeah, it's just been bliss. We have had some bad times with pollution and stuff, but we've worked on it and the water flow, and yeah, I think we've got it right.
And you enjoying fishing here? How often do you get here?
Well, I live in Enfield, which isn't too far away. It's probably about 12 miles away as the crow flies. So it only takes me half an hour to get here. And the beauty of that is that after a busy day at work, I can come for an evening rise, a couple of hours, and it really is an oasis to come to.
I don't blame you for that. And where else do you go and fish as well? Is this obviously your home water, but where else do you like to go fish?
Well, trout fishing, I sometimes quite enjoy the reservoirs. I'll go up on Tring and Rutland, Rutland and Graffham and Pittsford and fair few of the Midlands reservoirs. I did have a rod on the test down at Nursling for many years, about 20 years ago, and we used to catch salmon and sea trout on the fly, and it was just wonderful down there as well. And my salmon fishing has taken me, well, pretty much all around the world. I've fished the Jokanga up in Russia many times, in Iceland, up in the north and western east coast of Iceland, Argentina, down in Tierra del Fuego for the sea trout, New Zealand, obviously Scotland every year. I go up on the Conon every year, which I love, and that's up in the Highlands, and fortunately there's still a good head of salmon that get up there, and that's very enjoyable. So I'm really lucky. I've travelled and fished a lot, so very good.
That's a question I ask people often, where's your dream destination, but it sounds like you're ticking them all off.
Yes, I think I've done pretty much all of them. I haven't done Alaska. I don't know why. It hasn't really drawn me. But no, for the sheer size and the wilderness up on the Kola Peninsula above the Arctic Circle was very special. Yeah, obviously we can't go there now with all the problems and with Russia and that. But yeah, a good friend of mine built a lodge up there. We sort of opened the Jokanga many years ago, discovered it, and my friend built a lodge up there, and it proved very successful. It sort of became one of the top salmon fisheries in the world up there. And yeah, we used to fly in from Helsinki to Murmansk, and from Murmansk get helicoptered out about 200 miles, and a real adventure. It was really wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed those days.
It's lovely to hear people packing adventures into their fishing. While we've been talking again, there's a fish tight just down here. He ate something just subsurface and just came up. I saw him come back on it, take it, and then just drop down again. That was a mayfly. Look, see if he goes. Is he going to come and eat that now? There's a dun just come up. Oh, I thought he was going to have that as well, but he hasn't. So it feels as though the conductor has hit their baton, and it looks as though things are starting to start here now. Feargal said about 3 o'clock yesterday was the time. I've just watched him walk upstream with intent, so I assume he's got a trout mark that he's going to go. But today's reminded me of when I was a lot younger and used to fish for days and take a day off fishing, and it feels like that today, although I guess I'm semi-working as well because I'm going to be writing about this. But I know I'm going to drive home with that lovely feeling inside that it's been one of those really, really nice days fishing. Friend of the podcast, Michelin Starred chef, all-round good guy, Chris Galvin. Well, that was a bit of fun, wasn't it?
That was exhilarating, Pete. We were just saying how it leaves you shaking. It doesn't matter how many fish you catch, you've still got the shakes.
And that one took some working out. We had to change flies a few times. It's like the wind's come up a little bit and the hatch it's happening, but it's spluttering, isn't it? So the fish aren't as consistent. I don't know if it's because it's a little bit more open. You said they're taking just a couple of trees away, but the wind's sort of blowing across there. And I wonder if that perhaps, do you think, had an impact on the hatch?
Yeah, I think it is. I think they're coming off very sporadically now. Maybe in an hour there will be more of a flurry, but they're being very choosy. But I think what helped was where you showed me to mend the line and slowed the flies down. 2 casts, 3 casts later, we're on.
And I have to thank you for the most amazing lunch. It was absolutely fantastic. I was thrilled to hear that the beef that we had was from Devon as well. And just watching you and Roger go about doing your thing, even just for friends over lunch, was mightily impressive.
Yeah, I think we were talking about how do you hire a chef? You know, can they cook or not cook? I think giving is a huge part of hospitality, and the fact of sharing food, giving food to friends, family, and new friends is something special. And, you know, for me, 50 odd years and Roger catching up fast, we never actually lose that, and it's great, and it brings people together as well, Pete.
And it certainly did today, didn't they? Everyone was sort of chatting away, and I guess members see each other. But you, of course, were saying to me sometimes you come down and there's nobody here, and it's always nice for the members as well, isn't it? That they get to meet up with a few people, perhaps people they've not met before, and perhaps have the opportunity to go fishing with them too.
Absolutely. I think it's my 3rd season now, and I've learned so much since I've come here. Sometimes actually the fly doesn't touch the water because there's such interesting stories, especially from the older members they remember fly fishing in the past era, which I know we won't recapture. You know, everything's changed, the world's changed, but I always glean something from them, and bless them. They're all on WhatsApp, so they're keeping me up to speed on there, and just little tips and tricks, which has improved my fishing no end. So I really welcome the chats that we have on the river, or sharing flies. You know, often if they're doing well on a particular fly, which is interesting. You know, the world's changed. When I first went into Michelin Starred kitchens, you never shared a recipe. If you were lucky, after working for a month or so, they might give you a recipe. But now we live in a world, and that's why I love young people. They're into sharing. They're into wanting you to do the best. And Amwell Magna, they really celebrate you. Oh my gosh, like a washing machine now. The mayflies are starting to pop up, and they're everywhere. But yeah, the members generally want you to do well, and that's what I love about the club.
And recently Emma was visiting, shameless plug, and I'm plugging it because he's a good man and they're good places. But Chris has a pub with his brother in my stomping ground of Essex. And if you'd listened to the podcast previously, Chris mentioned that there's a river that runs through the boundary of the pub, and there was some trout in there, and Emma went there and had lunch with her dad and had a lovely time, fantastic food, and she said, she texted me on the way home and said, WhatsApped, and said, can you let Chris know that I saw 2 fish rise from, which was pretty cool. But as I said, it's a shameless plug. If you're in Essex, if you're visiting Essex, where do they need to go?
We're 15 minutes outside Chelmsford in the countryside, in Howe Street, which is near Great Waltham, and 700-year-old pub, which we brought back to life. It was derelict. The country's losing far too many pubs, and so it's very much community-driven. And yeah, I just feel like we're custodians, Pete. You're there for a short while, but we brought it back to life, and the community are using it.
And how do people find it?
You can get train and cab from Chelmsford Station. We're not far from Stansted, 15 minutes from Stansted Airport, and it's probably about a 45-minute drive from London.
Perfect. And the name and the website?
It's Galvin Green Man, and it's Galvin Restaurants website.
Fantastic. Well, while we've stopped, and we were talking about the debris on the water where the wind's been blowing, and there's just not so much there. And while we've been talking, literally 6 feet away from us, 2 fish rose very, very quickly, one downstream, and there was one on the far bank that Chris was covering perfectly, and it just didn't eat. And I said to him, every time the wind stops and there's just pollen coming off of trees, that whenever that stopped, it seemed to be that the fish would come up and eat. And in the middle here, just in front of us now, that there isn't so much on the water, and lo and behold, some fish have been rising. So perhaps the river's given us a bit of a clue, mate.
Yeah, I think so. It's what we were talking about earlier, is reading a river, and I think that's what gives me the most satisfaction, is to... I didn't do that. My first 2 years, I was fishing too fast, and everyone was telling me to slow down. But just stopping and reading it is, I'm slowly getting there with that, and it's more pleasurable.
Left Roger and Chris behind, netted a few fish for them. They were doing really, really well, and just walked upstream. I want to see some of the fishery that I haven't seen again for a long time. The mayfly is sort of coming off. I'm a bit more sheltered. I was going to say shaded here, but sheltered as well here. And it gives me the chance to spot a rising fish really, really well as well. It wasn't difficult there anyway, but a slightly faster pace. But it looks, I remember when I walked up here before, it looks riffles. There's some riffles, there's some runs. This was when I came up here last, I think it was choked with weed. You could barely get a cast in. Now it's a beautiful, the bank looks stunning. There's some reeds, the flow of the river goes down a lovely leisurely way and is nice and wide as well. It's probably, 30 feet across now, and it certainly wasn't like this when I was last here. It just looks as though it's been, well, of course it has been here for a very, very long time, but just looks amazing right now. Absolutely stunning. Oh, they've done some amazing work, and there's many clubs around the country doing similar sort of stuff as well, and with such love, tenderness, with yet a respect for nature too. And just walking upstream after I recorded that last segment, looking at how beautiful the river looked, and Graham's come downstream, said he'd caught a nice fish on the shallows, and I'm walking up. I'm going to determine to see all of the beat, or as most of the beat I possibly can, see what's going on. But it's one of those lovely days, isn't it? The fish are rising, the hatch is good. We're lucky we're fly anglers, aren't we?
We are indeed. It's a fabulous day. And where we are at the moment is just underneath a huge alder tree on the bend of the River Lea as it turns up towards the rapids. And it's been a really great spot. In the old days, it suffered with loss of water, but now we've got the water flowing and the trout love it. And at the moment, the mayfly are keeping them happy. But if we walk a bit further up, there's a section that Martin, our riverkeeper, has developed where we've got a side nursery stream. And in that nursery stream, we with the help of the EA, who have been fantastic in terms of, the lower echelons of the EA are really helpful. And Sam, our fisheries officer, brought 3 batches of grayling in 23, 24 and 25, and we stocked 2,500 in each batch of fingerling graylings, and we stocked the majority of them in the nursery stream that Martin developed. And I'm pleased to say that it's been a fabulous success, and we're catching grayling now on a regular basis. The first batch came from the Kennet, and the second batch came from the Derbyshire Wye. I must admit, I do like the Derbyshire Wye. So it's sort of nostalgic to have these fish down here, because I think the first fish to Scotland came from the Derbyshire Wye. And it's been a big addition to the fishery, and I just want to thank Sam, who's really helped us here. And if you go further up from the riffle along here, you come to the top gravels, and along the top gravels there's quite a stretch of fast water where the grayling love it. Unfortunately, I'm one of the few anglers on the river not to have caught a grayling yet, having stocked the majority of them. But I've had 2 to the net and lost both, so I'm sure the third one will go in the net. But it's been a great day today. I've really enjoyed it. I can't describe how it's been, because we've had a fabulous lunch, fabulous company, and the conditions have been very kind to us, and the grayling are lifting off in numbers. And if you look up now, we've been dancing at the side of the large alder tree that we stood beneath. So, oh joy.
Yeah, the mayfly spinners are getting ready, so we might see a fall a little bit later. We'll see what happens, and I may hang around for that. It's a long drive home. It's 4+ hours, 4.5 hours, but just to see the chance of that would be absolutely amazing. But one of the things that keeps coming through is the friendliness of the members of the club, and it really is a really nice group of people.
It's a fantastic group of people. We're really lucky. And the one thing we do have is a very, very active WhatsApp group. And the comments and the activity and the sort of camaraderie that comes out in that group and that WhatsApp group is fantastic. And it sort of reflects also what happens when you sit under the hut and you while the hours away over lunch. But the group itself is so helpful, and it's quite diverse now. We're starting to get a lot more younger members, which is a positive for the fishery, and they're adding a new dimension. And I wish we could get a few more. So any younger members want to join Amwell Magna, just write a note in.
Today reminded me of the days when I used to have a proper job, and I'd get a day fishing, perhaps at mayfly time as well, and catch some fish, and I'd drive home feeling topped up, feeling happy with life and ready to take on whatever the world was ready to throw at me. And today's been a wonderful example of that. It's a longer drive home for me, where I used to live. Leaving here used to take me about half an hour or something like that to get home. But yeah, it's going to be a good 4.5 hours to get home. But I don't mind. I'll put plenty of music on. I might listen to some podcasts as well. And I'm going to smile the whole way home. One of those good days with great people. There'll never be any charge for these podcasts. I just really enjoy capturing what fly fishing means to me and to you as well. And I hope I've managed to do it in this episode. As ever, there's going to be plenty more coming very, very soon. But thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Fly Culture Podcast, brought to you in association with the Voice of Game Angling, Trout and Salmon, where Pete is the editor.